The GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli, is at Zandvoort this weekend. It is the second event of the season. Two races at Paul Ricard, where we had wins in Pro-Am in both races for Bronick, Formanek and Stefan Rossina. The Am wins split between Philippe Prett and Oliver Freymuth. Qualifying coming up. Fast lane is open. The lights at the end of the pit lane have just gone green. So drivers making their way out on track. You look there at the Maserati that's going to be driven this weekend by Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia. And that car set to venture out on track to do the time for the grid for race 1. And then straight after it, we're going to have the second 20-minute period to determine the grid for race 2. Now, this is all something a little bit new in a sense for the GT2 European Series coming to Zandvoort. So for some drivers, there's a case of a bit of track learning to go on as much as anything. But for those that do know the circuit, they can perhaps push a little bit sooner. And of course, we had the cars on track yesterday for their free practice and pre-qualifying sessions. It was Stefan Rossina, not unexpectedly, who was the fastest in free practice and also rose to the occasion in pre-qualifying as well. So session is live. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, and the second of this weekend's races, set to be the 50th for the GT2 European Series since it began in 2021. First time that the championship, as I say, has been to Zandvoort. That makes it, therefore, the 12th circuit that the championship has visited. And a 7th different country as well, if you want some more numbers, Joe.
That's some very interesting stats this very early. And there is the #1 car of Prett. And he was very strong, wasn't he, at times. Had that gearbox issue that the team had to rectify. And actually one of the sister cars to LP Motorsport Maserati, Anik Patel and Eddie Cheever, not here. We saw Anik have a rather large shunt. He was absolutely A-OK, and I spoke to him afterwards, and he was in high spirits. Just a rough way to start the season in his first year of competitive racing, so hopefully we'll see Anik Patel back in one of those Maserati GT2s from LP Motorsport.
One or two other drivers with commitments in other championships that therefore mean that either the co-driver would have to go solo, or if they don't want to do that, they stand down for the weekend. But the times yesterday, very competitive. So you've still got some good battles, even if we're not quite as strong numerically as we were at Paul Ricard. There, the Mercedes that you can see in the hands of Alberto de Martin, Neil Montserrat. Alberto de Martin starting the session, or starting qualifying in Q1. That on a fairly gentle lap as he learns the circuit.
Yeah, no tyre ovens in GT2, so have to bring these tyres up from ambient, 13 degrees now, air temperature, so maybe a bit of sunshine, so they'll be starting at best case scenario, 25 degrees centigrade, and they want to be 80 or 90, so that's a lot of energy these drivers have to put in over 700 horsepower cars. That's why it looks tentative, because they just want to build them gradually. You can also go too hard, and if you push too early, you can actually get the surface temperature better, but the pressure not in the tyre, so you want to kind of build those two up in a nice equal par. That tyre pressure and tyre temp want to be in unity.
And we have Roberto Pampanini under investigation for crossing the white line at pit exit, so a penalty may come if he's found guilty of that. Alberto de Martin, then we talked about in the Mercedes on track. Gradually, drivers are going to get themselves up to speed. As you look there at the Lamborghini good to go from the Michenek Motorsport powered by Bulgaria squad. That is the car of Bronick, Formanek, Stefan Rossina. LP Racing are good to go with Louis Prett standing by as well. Sorry, not Louis Prett, his father, Philippe Prett. There it is, #1 Maserati. And the Maserati, which took a class win at Paul Ricard. But of course, now we come back to, for both races, the longer time in the pits if you have done well in the previous race. So there's no guarantee that even if you're quick in qualifying, the race goes your way. If you've done well at Ricard, you make this longer stop because there's extra time in the pits to serve if you were first, second or third.
Yeah, it keeps it spicy, and like you mentioned earlier, David, very tight in the times. The top 4 yesterday in pre-qualifying covered by 0.4 of a second, so it could be a similar story here as we see the KTM of Laura Kryhammer start to build a bit of pace. Still looking for tyre temp, so this won't be a push lap, but each lap just starts to energise the tyre and get ready to go. We've already had 20 25% of this session, so we've got less than 15 minutes remaining. So expect times to start to come in the next 2 to 3 minutes.
And Laura Kramer now goes to the top, does a 1:54.9. That is Pampanini, who now goes faster than anybody up to the top. And the other car that is on track looking fairly rapid is the Andrés Rochos KTM. Sorry, Mercedes, I should say, which is currently third. Pampanini, one of the more experienced drivers from Lamborghini, from the Le Mans Cup, racing in the States as well. So Pampanini, winner in Barcelona at the end of last year, ought to be, and we said this at Ricard, ought to be competitive, but for whatever reason, it conspired against them in France. They just never quite unlocked the potential. Yeah, there's glimpses, weren't there? Flashes of excellence, but the overall pace wasn't quite there, especially over the race. You can see these GT2 cars compared to the GT3s that we saw out earlier in qualifying, definitely moving around more road car based than the GT3 cousin category there. You can see Pampanini working away behind the wheel, trying to see where the grip's at. He will be a bit worried. There's a bit too much traffic in front of him on the headlight flasher, so he thinks this lap is worth trying to save as one of the Mercedes gets out of the way very well there. You can see these times still tumbling, and they're very dramatic numbers because they don't have tyre ribbons. So Pampanini then on to the completion of the lap. He's done purples across the sectors. So this is going to be the target. A 1:54.918, the best that he's done so far. Doesn't have to worry about traffic particularly on this lap. Managed to get clear track space, comes up towards the timing line, and it's going to be much faster, isn't it? Oliver Freymuth has gone into the 45s, and then into the 42 goes Pampanini. Yeah, still a bit of time to find as well. We expect these times to keep tumbling. Three cars actually quite close to each other on track there. You can see the wind really whipping around. It actually moved almost 90 degrees in direction. It's coming directly off the North Sea now, so we are going to get some different wind conditions. That means it's going to be a tailwind from this point onwards. So as you go over the dunes, the last thing you want is the rear of the car feeling light, but that's effectively what a tailwind does. And actually there, you can see Pampanini just putting a wheel on the dirt as he turned through. That wouldn't be optimal. The team will be watching these pictures too, and may even feed that back to him, just saying, watch out. It's even harder on the right side when you're on the left-hand side of the car to judge how wide the car is. So he might just get a bit of feedback there as he dives through turn 8 into 9 Renat Walk here. It really tightens, really difficult to get the car in. Some cars, just where the B pillar is as well, really blocks your vision in. And we can see Pampanini here starting to catch Kramer in that KTM in front. Is that going to start to hurt them? And Oliver Freymuth in the Lamborghini in front of her as well. So it's all concertinaing up, and it actually looks like they're all in the wrong order, doesn't it? The slower car, Freymuth, is going to hold up Kramer, who in turn is going to potentially hold up Pampanini. The Mercedes there as well in front of Gibbon. So we've got 4 cars all within a very small space on the Zandvoort circuit. Freymuth comes here as the championship leader in AM. Stefan Rossina, Bronick Formanek with their 2 wins, the championship leaders in Pro-Am. And another car that is getting on with the programme, if you like, as Pampanini goes faster still into the 1:39s now, is the Alberto De Martin Mercedes AMG. That's only 5th, but we saw how really quick Nil Montserrat was in that. He will do driving duties in Q2. And, OK, we're looking at one isolated grid, but over the course of the race, where you've got both drivers that have to do a stint, obviously cars are going to rise and fall accordingly. Yep, Formanek here in the Lamborghini, sorry, on a purple sector 1. You can see that on the timing tower on your left, and it's just been beaten though by Philippe Prett in the Maserati, so that's why it changed so quickly from purple to green. It's a live indicator. It is a purple sector 2 though, goes in hard and deep, almost a bit narrow as well into the chicane. Is he going to get a good exit? You don't want to see too much oversteer. Really nice hard on the throttle. Listen to the V10 sing. Small break for the last part of this lap into 13. Camber really starts to kick in here, 19 degrees through this last corner at 14. Full throttle there. Where's this lap time going to be? Is it going to be in the 38s? I think it could be a low 38 if it's a tidy lap. Possibly a 37 as he crosses it. 38.4, decent lap. Very good indeed. And, of course, every lap that a car does from any team, they're learning, aren't they? Because, as we've been making the point, first time GT2 has come here, so everybody's starting with a blank sheet of paper. Right now, 2.5 the margin between Formanek and Pampanini. So Bronick Formanek, we know a bit of a character, but he's not inexperienced, nor for that matter is Pampanini. So second and a half, a big gap between them. But now, have a look at Philippe Prett, because he's done an absolute best in Sector 1 in the Maserati, and has just gone fastest, because in Sector 2 it was a personal, in Sector 3 it was an absolute best. So Philippe Prett now, by 24 thousandths of a second, that's all, betters Bronick Formanek, and Formanek in response has done an absolute best in Sector 1.
Yeah, it's going to be tight, isn't it? Are these tyres going to hang on? They hang on longer than they do in GT3 because they don't use the tyre oven, so there isn't that peak that they're generating from that artificial heat effectively. Formanek through this long corner looking good at the moment.
Just wondering if he backed out of that. The car looks slower coming all the way through turn 10, but no, he's back on the power, I think, here, so it's an optical illusion. So yeah, Formanek has dropped a bit of time, but not massive amounts. No,
but Philippe Prett has stolen that purple Sector 1 again. That's 2 laps in a row. Formanek has been purple, and then Philippe Prett has stolen it from him by a couple of tenths of a second as well. So Formanek has got potential here to take pole position, but Philippe Prett looks like he's got the ammo in his gun to take it back off him if needs be.
And emphasis on the in ammo, because he is also the fastest in the AM class, Philippe Prett. This is Formanek crossing the line and goes back to the top. So a 1:38.207. Bronick Formanek now faster by 0.2 of a second, but Prett has done absolute best, and he's on his way up to the timing line. So number 1 Maserati, when it gets back towards the line, may well put itself to the top of the times. Formanek gets a little bit crossed up there going into turn 3. This is Prett. He's got to find 0.205 to go fastest. Is he going to do it? The answer is yes. Philippe Prett with the new fastest time, a 1:37.454, goes to the top of the times, 0.7 of a second to the good. And the last sector wasn't even an absolute best. It was a personal best, but not as good as Formanek. So fascinating lap, but Philippe Prett 0.7 up the road now.
Yeah, that is really quick, and Formanek will be told that over the radio in that Lamborghini. He's green in Sector 1, but he's still a tenth off this car's Sector 1, so Philippe Prett still looks like he's pushing hard as well, so we've still got time for another 3 or 4 laps. You see that Maserati squirreling over the bumps, over the rise. The car goes light naturally, and then the bumps aiding that to another level there, and that Maserati looking a handful, but Prett seems to be confident, and he's purple in Sector 1, 68 thousandths quicker again. He's still pushing hard.
Now remember, in this championship as well, there is a point for pole position in each class, so even if Bronick Formanek can't do it outright, he is still fastest in Pro-Am. So championship-wise, there is a point at stake for him. Second in Pro-Am is Laura Kreimer, who is 0.296 of a second back in the KTM. So 1 purple sector for Philippe Prett. Down to the chicane he comes at the Hans Ernst Bocht. 2 purple sectors for Philippe Prett. Are we going to have all the cherries aligned on the fruit machine here? Can he do 3 purples?
He didn't last lap, did he? He did exactly this. Sectors 1 and 2 were purple, and Sector 3 was not. It was only a tenth off in Sector 3, so he'll be looking to replicate the first 2 sectors, copy and paste it in. Can he get into the 36s? I think not. I think this could be a 37.2 as he crosses the line. Where does he get to? 37.3, but it is a full house of purples. No, it's not, sorry.
Yeah, again, Sector 3 slightly down. So Philippe Prett now faster by 0.8 of a second. Now fast forward to the first race, because Philippe Prett is a soloist, so his pit stop is going to be slightly longer anyway because of that. But he had a bad second race at Paul Ricard, so he doesn't carry any extra compensation time, whereas Formanek will carry an extra 10 seconds in the pits. Going to be a really interesting race, that's for sure. Now Laura Kreimer goes second fastest, goes ahead of Bronick Formanek. So she's a tenth quicker than the Lamborghini. All of a sudden, Formanek's going to have to dig deep, and we've only got 5.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Formanek's last lap was actually nearly 14 seconds off, so it looks like he's doing a cooler lap, just a chance for the tyres and brakes even to get a bit of air and recover as that KTM blasts some sort of smoke out on the upshift. We saw that a bit at Paul Ricard as well, so not too much to worry about there. KTM so stiff, you can see how loose it is there, and hopefully she can keep out the barrier. Big gravel trap, and that is big speed. Expect to see a red flag, as I think that car has made it to the barriers quite substantially.
Straight away, Joel Dorval, the race director, calls for the red flag. We had just under 5 minutes to go, but not great news that for Laura Kreimer, having gone second fastest as well, but now's the cause of the red flag. she may not stay there.
Yeah, and that was a real shame for her. And I literally just said how stiff that KTM looked as it went over the bumps. And the previous lap, I'd mentioned this Maserati, as it goes over that crest there, the whole car goes light. And if the car isn't perfectly set as it hits the bump, it can do exactly what we've just seen there and cause the car to oversteer and naturally force you off to the side of the track. So when you then get on the brakes, you've got a wheel on the dirt and the car rotates. And that was a high speed off there. The car's doing 240, 250 kilometers an hour over the rise of turn 6 into 7. And the car's there, and the gravel trap very, very big, and does do a mega job of slowing it down as we go to the pit lane. Looking at Formunac, third at the moment. I think there's a chance this session won't restart. It's right on the cusp, isn't it? Just under 5 minutes, like you said. And we've got a tight timetable here at Zandvoort because we've got so many good races to get through.
So we'll see what race control do. We've still got Q2 to come, of course, where the other driver will jump on board. So at the moment, the message line says that car 89 hit wall at turn 7, driver okay. That's the good news. So it was a wild old ride that Laura Kreimer had, but she's okay, and there is the car. How much damage has been done, we will wait and see, because it went a long way through the gravel. Rear wing possibly has taken a beating, and that, of course, is going to impact, no pun intended, on whether the car comes out for Q2. Over the brow, rode the curb, got all unsettled, big lose, bang, rear of the car goes into the rectisail, but could have been worse.
Yeah, and it was so close, actually. It's where the curb ends on the left that really unsettled the car. Yeah, luckily the rectisails there, the plastic foam-filled part of the barrier, do a very good job of absorbing and dissipating the energy. Yeah, the hard bit there as well is obviously her teammate, Matto Homola's not going to get out in his session. And then can they get the car repaired for the race this afternoon, which starts at 1:20 local time?
There is Oliver Freymuth, who goes solo, so it doesn't really matter to him whether we resume Q1 or go to Q2, because he'll still be in the car. Others do want to go back out if they can, but as Joe had made the point, we've got a lot to get through today, with racing going on until just after 6:30. So whether there is time within the programme to resume for just under 5 minutes, we will wait and see. They'd had the first 15 minutes, but there is the Pascal Gimon Mercedes getting ready to go. He shares that car with Christophe Bourret. Again, two very experienced drivers you've got there. Pascal Gimon has been a GT4 racer. He's driven in the French GT Championship, Creventic Series, European Le Mans Series, at Le Mans itself. So now enjoying his motor racing in a different environment. Now, as we are under these red flag conditions, let us head to the pit lane, because Stefan Rossina will take over number 11 from Bronick Formanek for Q2. We can hear from the double winner from Paul Ricard with Alex Legui.
Thought I would grab a word with you after such a successful Paul Ricard. How tricky is it going to be to repeat that form here in Zandvoort, especially given how tricky it seems to be so far this morning for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that Broniek would be also leading the charts, but we are third. Seems Maserati is quick, so let's see. But we will fight. I guess that we still have a chance to win, so we will push for that.
I just saw you having a chat with Bronek. What was it? What sort of things are you guys talking about? What are you learning from him?
No, the point was that I told him that maybe it's the right time to stop now. It doesn't make any sense to continue, so we save tires. So that is what we spoke about.
Does this track suit the Lambo?
Well, I was thinking so, and I do think so, but I think what is good is that it's equal for everyone now. I believe that basically we can fight Maseratis as well, and I'll try that now.
How much experience have you got around this circuit?
I've been here already several times, already in FIA GT Series like 10 years ago, so I know the track.
Good. All right, well, best of luck.
Stefan Rossina, 8 times winner in Pro-Am, but he's right, he has been here in FIA GT days. He raced for a time, not here, because it was in its non-Grand Prix era, but in Porsche Super Cup, and was a force to be reckoned with in that, going back quite a long time, and then effectively retired from motor racing to go off and build up his business, and then has been tempted back in the last few seasons. So Lara Krahimer's best lap time deleted for causing a red flag, as we were suggesting may well happen. Stefan Rossina, a double Skoda Octavia champion, and very rapid now in a Lamborghini. Petrolisa there gets ready to go in Q2. Having raced in North European endurance events, but coming into this championship new this year. And he was pretty quick with the Mercedes at Paul Ricard. Drivers getting themselves ready. We haven't had news yet as to whether Q1 is going to be resumed or not, but the general feeling in the pit lane is that everyone's getting ready for Q2, come what may.
Yeah, and the longer the red flag stays out, the more likely it is they will call the session just to keep that timetable as efficient as they can, like we said. And actually, Petrolisa, yes, is in the Mercedes, but is actually in the same team as Lara Kryhammer, so RTR Projects, running both a KTM and a Mercedes. As we look at Philippe Prett, makes no difference to him, does it, if it restarts or not? He's going out again, just if it's going to be Q1 or Q2 for him, but at the moment he'll be very happy with his Q1 effort.
So the KTM of Lara Kryhammer has to be hauled out of the gravel, but then also the Zandvoort circuit team will need to go and make sure that there's no barrier damage, that the recticel is in place, and then a decision will be made. And the Dynamic Motorsport squad that operates the Roberto Pampanini, Maro, Calamia, Maserati, getting ready as well. And so too is Alex, who has arrived on the scene, and we'll tee that up in a moment and then go back down to the pit lane. The efforts of Roberto Pampanini only 6th, which is a bit of a surprise given that he's one of the more experienced drivers on the grid. Lara Kryhammer's best lap being lost doesn't impact hugely, just drops 1 place on the grid.
Yeah, quite lucky that, and isn't always a negative to go from 2nd to 3rd here. The inside's quite a strong position to be, that opening corner, that 180-degree Tarzan hairpin. So
Roberto and I were just discussing.
I really hope they can get that car fixed in time for the race, because it would be a mega positive for her and the team. But yeah, Pampanini looked strong early on, didn't he? He was one of the first cars out setting competitive lap times. 2.1 seconds off pole at the moment, 0.4 a second from Gibbon in front. So if it does go green, he's got a chance, but I don't think it's going to.
Let's hear from Roberto Pampanini. Let's go down to Alex Legui again.
Roberto and I were just discussing how cold and windy it is down here. It seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, but it's very cold. I think I feel like 6 degrees, and but the track is very fast as well. But we try to push a lot I can, and in my fastest lap there was the crash with the KTM. Front of me.
Very frustrating. How's the car feeling, and what do you anticipate the evolution of the day, and how that's going to affect you guys?
No, I mean, the race, it's important. I think we are, I'm not the best qualifier, but in the race I'm good, and so I feel the car very well, and I hope we can make a good position in the race. Not
the best in qualifying, good in the race, but this is quite an important place for qualifying, given that there's not that many places to overtake.
Yes, I know, but we have not so much car in the grid, so sixth place now, it's okay, and I feel in the race I will be in front. Yeah, I hope so.
That certainly helps, doesn't it, when it comes to a track like Zandvoort. Thank you very much.
Roberto Pampanini then, as he says, not the best qualifier, but a good racer. That's going to be important a little bit later on in the day with the first GT2 race due to go at 1:20. Busy day of GT racing for the fans. We've got the full house, GT2, GT3, GT4 as well. And then single-seater action comes from GB3 here at Zandvoort this weekend. The next stop for GT World Challenge will take us back to endurance when we go to Monza at the end of May, racing over the end of May, 1st of June weekend. Tickets, of course, are on sale, so if you haven't been to a GT World Challenge event, come and join us at Monza, or better still, come and join us at the 24 Hours of Spa, which will be the last weekend of June, and the entry for that is 70 plus cars.
76 cars is the
Amazing.
biggest ever entry for Spa 24 in its current GT format. So that's going to be wild, and even better than that, why don't you do Monza and Spa? Because you're so close to Milan, you can make a nice weekend out of it, and then Spa is just a party weekend. So there's 2 different weekends basically.
Good idea. Let's go back to the pit lane. Matto Homola shares with Laura Kramer. He may well have a view on what he's just witnessed.
Oh, Matto Omola, you had a very tricky Paul Ricard, and here we are again. Not a very good start to the weekend. First things first, though, tell me what you've heard from Laura. How is she?
Yeah, she's okay. She was on the radio that everything is okay with her. Unfortunately, she crashed. So yeah, it's how it is.
Very, very frustrating for you guys. And I mean, when you look at the races and the rounds that you've got for the rest of the season, where do you feel like you're going to be able to pick up some points?
Yeah, we were kind of motivated to be successful here because this track I think suits KTM because it's technical and yeah, we like this type of condition and this type of tracks. So yeah, hopefully the team will repair the car for the race 1. So hopefully there will be no issue. And I still think that this weekend we can be successful, and all the other, let's say, tracks that are kind of technical. But also we were quite successful also last year at Barcelona. So the car is good almost on all tracks. So yeah, we need to put it together, everything, to not have some bad moments like in Paul Ricard, but also here, and we'll be up there.
Yeah, and certainly, like you say, obviously the team will repair the car. And like we were just discussing with Roberto, it's a small championship. So there are opportunities, aren't there, to be able to gain points. And being, a less number of cars means that there are overtaking opportunities at Zandvoort.
Yeah, but that's unfortunate for us that we thought that we had the chance here. Yeah, this type of moments and situations happen with the crashes, etc. It's motorsport still, so we are pushing a lot. Yeah, we could see with Laura, she was pushing a lot. Yeah, so she was flying. Yeah, she was flying. So yeah, it's life. It's motorsport. The guys from RTR Project will repair the car and will be hopefully fast and successful today and tomorrow.
I have no doubt about that, and most importantly, I'm glad that Laura is okay. Fingers crossed, Matto.
So Matto Homola can still force a smile, thumbs up, and Philippe Prett having jumped out of the car, talking to the team. We're still, being told the fast lane is open, so I think we are going to resume the session. It's not being called, so the opportunity is there for the drivers to go back out. But Philippe Prett doesn't really look terribly fast, does he? He's 0.8 of a second up the road, talking there with Stefan Ortelli, Le Mans winner, who lives near to the Pretts in Monaco and has been a long-time friend, but also influence on the career of Philippe's son, Louis, who is in GT World Challenge Europe for the Garage 59 team. You can see the McLaren in the background with the company APM Monaco adorned on the front, as it is on their overalls. So, fast lane is open, and it's a bit like a GT3 qualifying session. Nobody seems very interested in going out, do they?
Yeah, I guess the teams might have been caught out a bit. I think the logical thing would have been to call that session, so the teams probably went with that. Some of the drivers may be saying, I can't improve now, the tyre temp has dropped. As soon as a tyre goes through a heat cycle, it naturally hardens the compound of the rubber, so it is harder to improve the lap time. And maybe that's the reason a few drivers are deciding against going back out and thinking, actually, let's park up and save the tyre for the race that we need to use later on.
Andrzej Rokosz out of his Mercedes that he shares with Petrolica. Other drivers, Bronick Formanex out of the Lamborghini. So nobody looking terribly interested in this, even though the fast lane is open. We haven't been given a restart time, but the fast lane is open. And that we are assuming is for the resumption of Q1, not Q2, because the clock has not been zeroed and reset. So qualifying continues. Already you can see there the Michenek Motorsport team doing the photo shoot. Drivers, team manager, all huddling together in front of the Lamborghini. So we'll take this opportunity while we have a break to get the marketing admin out of the way. So the team, then they'll go back into work mode and get that car all ready for Q2. Stefan Rossina will be a man to watch. You heard the surprise in his voice, really, that the car wasn't doing better. Others are good to go, including Oliver Freymuth, one of the soloists that we have.
Just trying to see if he's got a new set of tyres on or if he's carrying over a set from Q1 there. Just trying to basically spot how shiny the top of the tyre is. Looks a bit matte and a bit dull, so to me it potentially looks like a used tyre there. You can see quite how tight the cockpits are as one as a spectator looks on. I'm sure they can get a good bird's eye view later on in the session.
Unless they're naughty and they're up before the beak. So, got a good view.
Trying to work out what gravel trap he's on. He looks like he's track side. Hope he doesn't get a fright in a minute and gets a bit of a flap as his head heightens. Is that a car starting? Is that the start of the session?
He'll be fine if people feather the throttle. Don't worry about it. He'll be all right. So the Birdman of Zandvoort switches attention to the start straight, where we still have the red light, and I'm surprised the fast lane has been open for so long without now anybody taking advantage. The green flag is now shown, and
you can actually see the steering wheel hung up in the windscreen
right.
294. So I would be surprised to see that car move forward, and yeah, just up in the air as well on its air jacks. Team don't look like they're going, but
Freymuth is.
Yeah, so that's why he had used tyres on, because he was going to continue in this session. Currently in 8th position, needs to find 1.2 seconds to gain a position over Rakesh in Mercedes in front of him, but he's going to have all of Zandvoort to himself. 4.3 kilometres, 14 corners, and that is a privilege in itself.
This is the slowest of the AMs and yet the championship leader. So Freymuth would quite like that point for pole if he can do it. There is the Roberto Pampanini Maserati that's already being earmarked for Mauro Calamia for Q2. I don't think we're going to see that car again. So you've got one car on track, and largely now the team's getting ready for Q2.
Yeah, they can't add fuel. They can't really do any setup changes. So that's why they look quite docile, because there isn't really that much to do. Just install the new driver and the new tyres. Looks like the Lamborghini of Stefan Rossina for Q2 is getting the tyres on now. That makes sense. While the brakes are hot, those temperatures can radiate into the new set of tyres to try and help build the pressures and temps while it's sat there stationary as Oliver Freymuth comes through this Q1 Sector 2. Very difficult here to spot your point, so it's sometimes quite nice on an out lap when you're going that bit slower, just to talk yourself through the lap, what you need to be doing, what gear you're in, what's your braking point, any notes of interest. Do I use this curve? Do I avoid a bump, for example? There's a lot going on out there, but the positive is he's got the whole track to himself still.
As indeed, and just under 3 minutes, so you can get a couple of laps out of this as the Lamborghini comes through. Oliver Freymuth, who is well versed with Lamborghini Huracans because he's been racing in Super Trofeo, this car adapted to GT2 requirements, coming up now towards the last corner, turn 14, the Arie Luyendyk bocht up towards the timing line. He will come and then start a flying lap. And still, he's the only driver out there. Through he goes. So Freymuth breaks the beam, starts a flying lap now. And Oliver Freymuth, who has been racing for a long, long time, go all the way back to one-mate Renault days in things like the Clio V6s and the Megane Trophy. He's raced Porsches, he's raced Minis, he's raced in the Dacia Logan series, he's raced Porsche Super Cup. Very, very experienced driver. His son, Sebastian Freymuth, we've seen racing in GT cars in the past as well. And Dad going solo once more this weekend. Now let's see what this lap is going to be like. I'm not anticipating, to be fair, it's going to be much of an improvement, but we will see on these used tyres. First sector is slower than it was earlier on for him.
Yeah, car not looking super compliant on turn-in, missing a few apexes. The tyre temp still won't be there, so this is his chance to build it. He's going to get one more flyer at the end of it. Had a bit of a lock-up into turn 1 where we were watching him, so the front tyre's obviously not getting the adhesion. The ABS was expecting the driver pushing the brake pedal and then the brake pressure flowing through the ABS module that then works out how much pressure each corner of the car can take to not lock up, and when that happens you've basically pressed the brake too hard, which should be physically impossible in an ABS-aided car. But riding the curb really well there. Bit of a late apex here, so trying to get on the throttle. Good drive, good traction out of there. And we're just coming to a minute remaining, so this will be the last lap of the session, sorry, for anyone out there.
So here is the Lamborghini up towards the line. If he wants to, he'll get another lap out of the session. These sectors have been down on what he did earlier on, so the last roll of the dice will come, goes through, and the lap that he's just done was a 1:41.6, so about 8/10ths down on his earlier best.
Yeah, impressive. So I think there's a chance here to improve. Let's keep an eye on those sectors as he sweeps through this sort of no corner. It's not even given a number anymore. Into turn 2 and now into 3. How high is he going to run up? Decides to try and take a narrow line, trying to open the corner up as much as you can. Is difficult from that line on exit, so you tend to be compromised all the way through this full throttle sections 4, 5 into 6. And then where we saw the KTM go off at turn number 7, it's not a green sector 1 either. So he's now got to make the decision. Does he finish the lap and take another 4.2 kilometers of life out of the tyres, or does he box and save it? Car looking compliant and happy, but I think we've just taken the best out of these tyres.
Flag out, so he will take the checker flag, whether it's on track or in the pits. In a sense, the team would be perhaps advised now to say, you're not improving, box this lap, come in at the end of this lap, therefore, and just give us a little bit more time to get everything ready for Q2. It may be, though, that there is absolutely nothing they can do because they've just been in the pits. Any adjustments would have been made. Freymuth's going to stay in the car anyway, so whether he bails at the end of the lap or not kind of doesn't really influence the run plan for Q2.
Yeah, and it's all learning for him, obviously. Yes, they had testing yesterday, but first time GT2 have been to Zandvoort, so laps are important to knowledge and learning, and he's going to do Q2 being a solo driver. Looks like he is starting to back out of it, though, so I expect him to box here and save those tyres for the race later on this afternoon.
So in he comes. So Oliver Freymuth has been the one driver interested in going back out. 89, though, Laura Krahammer KTM, with that rear damage, as we'd seen, brought back to the paddock, released from Parc Fermé, so the team can go to work. But whether it's going to be okay to get out in Q2, rather doubt, because there's not much time, even allowing for the red flag period, even allowing for the break. At best, they might squeak out for one lap towards the very end, but Matto Homler, I think, is going to have to start from the very back for race 2. Right, we've got about 9 minutes before we are back up and running. So at 10:06, we will be underway for Q2. So the timetable slips just a little bit, but there is a lunch break where things can be brought back on target. You can see down in the pit lane, the team's then getting ready now with the new tyres, and in some cases, the incoming driver ready to jump on board and go again.
You can see Alex working the pit lane, about to apprehend maybe Philippe Prett, who will be looking to get in the car and replicate Q1 and get another pole position. You see those new tyres. You can actually see the difference between the two sets in shot. See a sticker on it and that slightly shinier feel, whereas those old tyres getting carried away from that red Mercedes new set going on that Maserati GT2 car. Wheel nut first is tightened by hand just to get it to bite, and then a wheel gun will come round and tighten them up. A single wheel nut on these cars, so they can be torqued up to anything up to 900 Newton meters, which obviously they need only 1 point of keeping them on to the hub. There's a lot of energy in these cars.
Now, as everybody gets set, Philippe Prett, fastest in Q1, gets a point in the championship for that as well. Let's hear from Philippe Prett with Alex.
Sorry to interrupt you, Philippe. You're just about to get that helmet back on, but I just thought I'd have a quick chat to you as a solo contender. Your last sector looks like you could do with a bit of work. Talk to me. Can you get any more out of this car?
Yes, I love this track. They make a very good setup on the car, and we work a lot, and we arrive to this situation.
You think it suits the car?
The car is fantastic.
But does it suit the circuit?
Exactly, also. we have a full package this weekend.
You're a very strong title contender. You had a good Paul Ricard. Do you reckon you can have a nice clean sweep here?
I don't understand.
That's all right. I'd speak in French, right?
Yes. Italian.
Yeah,
No,
we'll
okay.
finish there.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good one.
So Philippe Prett looking to try to do what he did in France and to take at least one win. He didn't do so well in the second because of penalties and also the compensation time in the pits. Paul Ricard, always a circuit where track limit warnings and penalties tend to come into the mix. Here, with more gravel beds around, run wide, you penalise yourself. So track limits here, less of an issue. What we have in contrast, though, often are interruptions to races because cars are off the road in gravel.
Yeah, and that gravel gets brought back onto the circuit as well. So from a driver's perspective, you'll be committed into a corner, then to literally just see a huge amount of gravel across it. And it's like driving over ball bearings, like getting aquaplaning on the road. It suddenly changes the grip level by half as we see the Q1 results.
With Philippe Prett, the fastest in Q1, and the time that he has done is a 1 minute 37.335. That is, if you like, the target benchmark time for Q2. He's ahead of Bronek Formanek by 8/10. Lara Krahemer was second, but best lap taken away for causing the red flag puts her third. Alberto Di Martin fourth, ahead of Pascal Gibon, so the Mercedes AMGs together. Then the Maserati of Roberto Pampanini, the Mercedes AMG of André Rochos and Oliver Freymuth. Lamborghini is 8th fastest. Looking there up the road from turn 8, looking back at turn 7 in the pit lane. Teams also concerned about the view, making sure that the windscreen for Mauro Calamia is nice and clear. Sometimes it's what you have now, the cloth and the cleaning solution. Other times it's that tear-off windscreen.
Yeah, so the windscreen on the Maserati is actually a Perspex 1 anyway, but yeah, then they layer it up with thin layers of plastic, almost like your mobile phone screen protector.
Yeah.
They can run anything up to 8 of those on top of each other. So if it gets too bad, they just simply peel that off in a very refreshing manner and whip it off. And then suddenly you can see as clear as day again.
Which is a great feeling for a driver. And sometimes after a pit stop, a clear windscreen, as well as a nice new set of brand new tyres, does wonders for your confidence. Right, we are about 4 minutes and counting from the second qualifying session getting underway. Stefan Rossina then in the Lamborghini saying he expected the car to be quicker. Let's see whether he can make good on that now.
Yeah, was that a dig at the car or his teammate?
I read it as his teammate a little bit more, but in fairness, although Bronek Formanek is experienced, I don't think he would say he's the fastest driver out there. He's quick to a given level, but Rossina will have the edge over him.
Yeah, Ricard, I'd say Rossina was a standout driver in that regard, so expect that car to lift itself slightly higher than third place, where Formanek placed it in Q1. Philippe Prett does get the advantage, of course. This is now the second time he's been in the car, so that will be worth a bit of time. He will have understood what the tyre needed to warm up, but also how to get the best out of it, as we see the start of Q2 about to go green. The fast lane is open, so cars can queue up if they wish, but with only 7 cars, there's probably no need to rush out there.
Now, also having gone well so far is André Rochos with his Mercedes AMG. Alex has caught up with him.
Andre, talk to me about your qualifying session. How was it for you?
It was difficult. I couldn't have better time because I don't have so much skills, but I do my best, and we will see what the race will bring us. So I will try my best. Like I said, I have to watch some videos, and I will try it.
Petre has a lot of experience. What do you think he can do? What more can you get out of the car, you boys?
I think that he will qualify better than me because, like you said, he has much more experience, and we will see. We will see.
What is the biggest challenge around Zandvoort?
I think the last turn when you drive on full throttle and a lot of G-force there. So I think that's the most difficult.
How much experience have you had around this circuit?
I am here for the first time.
No,
Yeah. First time here. We have to practice few laps, and now we have to go in quali and in a race. So we will see what will bring race.
It's a nice circuit, though, right? Talk me through it. Like, I went round on a very slow lap yesterday, and even enjoyed that.
Yeah. The circuit is really nice. It's totally different from everything else I experienced till now. So it's really nice here, nice weather. So
we will see what brings us the tomorrow race.
It actually feels like it's starting to warm up, which is good, and will obviously be good track evolution for the race for you guys, right?
Yeah. The track evolution will be seen, and we see a lot of qualifying before our first race, so there will be some pickups. We will see what it brings us.
Good.
So,
all right.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
André Rokos then doing a good job for a newcomer to the circuit. So we're into the last minute of the break between the sessions, so the pit lane will go green shortly. The fast lane is open. That means that people now can make their way to pit exit, ready to go. 115 now will be taken over by the rapid Neil Montserrat, who is the NM of the NM racing team. And although he spent most of his time in the last few years building up a race team, he was a very good single-seater driver in his earlier days. So Neil Montserrat, who got as far as Formula Renault 3.5, will be one to watch in the battle for pole position. I think he surprised a few people and was recategorised during the weekend, in fact, at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, overnight, wasn't he, from bronze to silver, which is a big annoyance, but also a big compliment that you're basically too fast for what we thought you were. So we're going to have to bump you up, and that changed them from an AM car to a Pro-Am car. And yeah, Neil Montserrat running a super successful GT team now, have grown and winning races in many GT championships. So must be quite fun for him to get in the car and kind of practice what he preaches.
Q2 for the GT2 European Series underway. Cars making their way out on track. This is going to determine the grid for the second race of the weekend. And as the field pours now out onto the circuit, we are in business, and it should have a rather different look to it. Target time, a 1:37.335 set by Philippe Prett, but in many cars now, different driver. That's going to have an impact on the order.
Yeah, just admiring this beautiful drone shot here we have of Zandvoort. It shows you how close we are to the North Sea. I know I've said about it already, but it's a pretty vast beach as well here. It's kind of the beach resort for Amsterdam. We're only 30 minutes away from the city centre, and that sand does get blown across, and actually the sand blurs into the gravel traps through the dunes here as we go to another shade of gold. This Maserati looking beautiful in the sunshine that is starting to warm up this circuit. The Dynamic Motorsport car number 7 waiting to go. Now got Mauro Calamia behind the wheel, set to go. You can see his radio plugged into the window net there. Car is on, ignition is on. You can see the lollipop guys in front of both of those similar coloured cars, but very different cars. Obviously the Lamborghini and Maserati. They'll be waiting for the engineer. The car controller will then release that car. 18.5 minutes just gone, so won't be too long until we see them head out and start to get some heat in those tyres.
Christophe Bourret will be another driver to keep an eye on in his Mercedes AMG. Oliver Freymuth certainly gets his money's worth. He's first out again, having done those last 5 minutes that nobody else bothered with. Petra Lisha is on track as well. 20 minutes is this second part of qualifying. This is the race 2 grid. Oliver Freymuth then the slowest in Q1, but let's see what he can do against different people now for Q2.
Must have to start quite a lot of fuel in that car if he wants to do both 20-minute sessions to have enough fuel to run for 40 minutes. So that car will start to transform as he burns that fuel off. I'd imagine that car is using 2.5, 2.7 kilos per lap around here at Zandvoort. So each lap he does, the car will get lighter and feel better and better. So yeah, he obviously feels he needs the track time ahead of the races and just wants to pound around.
Yeah, and likewise, everybody's car getting that little bit lower. So maybe if you've got your gun driver into Q2, like a Neil Montserrat, for example, or a Mauro Calamia, or a Stefan Rossina, it's towards the end of the session where the times are going to come. It's not just about the tyre warmth, is it? That, as you say, they're burning off the fuel all the time because all the cars will have been heavy and fuel to do 2 20-minute sessions. Now, yeah, okay, how many laps you do within that is down to individual teams to decide. But Oliver Freymuth then still getting the warmth into the rubber, attacks the Tarzan hairpin. Lovely shot that over the dunes, looking down onto Tarzan round the back of the paddock, and the beach and the seaside in the background. Zandvoort, a good coastal town, and a nice part of Holland, this. The Zandvoort circuit that's been on and off the radar. Of course, it was a Grand Prix venue up through the 1980s, and then Formula One moved away. The circuit had to be remodeled. There were lots of noise dramas as well, and the old circuit, although this is similar in shape, was rather longer. Then it became a bit chopped. Bits of the old circuit built on, but with new ownership, the circuit coming back as an international venue. And I don't think anybody really ever saw Formula One coming back here, but it did, and it's given tremendous racing on the back of course, the whole Max Verstappen success of Formula One. And you go back a long, long time, the very first race meeting here, although it was organised by the Dutch Motorsport Federation, it was with a huge amount of hard work by the British Racing Drivers Club to actually put the event on with staffing and marshals and entries. It wasn't formally a BRDC-run race meeting, but the BRDC had a massive part to play in the event.
Yeah, I mean, it opened in 1948 here, and it was actually the help of the British RAF as well. So there was a huge synergy between the two nations. So that was good. And yeah, 1952, the first Grand Prix here. So one of the proper historic tracks. And you see Philippe Prett, and it's got barrier damage. Sorry, car damage to the front because he's hit the barrier. So cold tyres has caught him out there. And was that leaving the pits or the first flyers? But that was kink 2, and I think that is his outlap because. Yeah, it is, isn't it? So it's a yellow flag. Can he get going? But he would have got out the car with hot sticky tyres and bolted on a new cold set. And I think, unfortunately, that's caught him out as he's hit the throttle leaving the pit lane. Yeah,
just booted it and it's looped. So we've got a yellow flag while he sorts himself out. But you're right, straight out of the pit lane and around it's gone. Stefan Rossina is ready to go. And the team possibly now deciding that they'll wait for it to go green. There's no point letting him out when the track is under a yellow flag. So for the time being, the car is being held. We still have this yellow flag. Of course, he's got to try and turn the car around, but the danger is while he's doing it, he stalls it, and then he's stranded.
Yeah, I don't know what race control would call that, turn 1 or 2, because that little kink isn't afforded a number. The only thing I would do with Rossina, red flag is out, is actually could have sent him out just to get some tyre temperature. As we see, Prett is probably unable to activate reverse gear. Race cars hate getting reverse gear. It's a requirement. They have to have a reverse, but the process to get in isn't easy and sometimes can even damage the gearbox. But yeah, I just thought maybe that Lamborghini of Rossina could have gone out just to get some tyre temp, because there is a minimum tyre pressure the cars have to go. So you could have gone out and then bled a bit of that out. So later on in the session, you could have reaped the reward there. And yeah, I mean, Philippe Prett's not going to lose his fastest lap of this session, but that is a Jekyll and Hyde qualifying so far.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? We understand that it was exactly what we were surmising, accelerating out of the pit lane and the car looping around. Bronek Formanek with his trademark woolly hat is the, oh dear, quite a lot of damage on the front of the Maserati. He's got it going again, but it wasn't just a spin. He's clanged the Armco, and Philippe Prett is going to need lots of sticky tape in order to go out and do a lap. And oh, that bodywork ain't going to survive the lap. He's going to have to crawl round, but that is quite a lot of damage done, isn't it?
Doesn't look like it's sitting level either, so I don't know if that's optical illusion with the splitter touching the floor or it is suspension damage.
Remind me, Paul Ricard, he had to miss Q2. Was that was a gearbox problem, wasn't it? So
correct, but he did have similar damage from a race at Ricard.
That's
on
right.
That front left corner. So I could see your couple of brain cells rubbing together to try and get the answer. You were close, well, but we've got a trend, that's for sure. Q2 isn't a Philippe Prett session.
That's what I was heading towards, really. But also, we know he can do it from the back of the grid. He's going to have to do it from the back of the grid for race 2. But as you say, bittersweet with a pole position for the first one and then potentially being right at the very back for the second. So Philippe, through whatever circumstance, makes race 2 interesting for us.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't Alexander's question that he didn't understand. He was still pondering in the back of his mind.
What is a clean sweep? Yes.
Not this. And yeah, the problem there is I don't think the scrutineer is going to allow that car back out, even with a lot of tape. The splitter is too damaged from a structure integrity perspective to allow out. So I think that's done. Then it's going to be who's 7th and 8th between him and Laura Kryhammer. I don't know the rule book in that sense of if they both don't set a time, and that's actually Ortelli there, the coach we're talking about, but his son, Louis Prett, on the right. You can just see his checkered flag hat. And That's going to be a hard debrief. I'll tell you, with all the experience, would have reminded them of all the basics, but maybe the traction control didn't get put back on in the setting he was expecting. But yeah, the cold tyres, it's like driving on ice. It's the only way I can describe it. Going from hot, sticky slicks to brand new cold tyres, it's like hitting black ice and suddenly you've got no grip whatsoever.
In answer to your who goes from where, I would offer you that Philippe Prett would start ahead of Matto Hommler because Philippe Prett did take part in the session, whereas Hommler potentially doesn't. So the car did go out, whereas Hommler's is at the moment looking unlikely so to do. The only lap time we really had, and it was a start-up lap, was Petrolicia and Oliver Freymuth's efforts, both in the 53s. We know there's more time to find there because we were even with the slowest time in the 1 minute 40s. So 14 minutes on the clock. The fast lane is open because Philippe Prett's car can drive around the circuit, albeit slowly, and as soon as it gets towards the end of the lap, then the indication can be given that we can get back underway. But a rather bitty morning for the GT2 teams. Yeah,
2 red flags in 2 sessions. It shows you how difficult this circuit is, how difficult these cars are to drive, and yeah, cold tyres, it's difficult with the cold tyre thing, and you get so used to it as a driver using tyre ovens, so some of these drivers will be then transitioning back to cold tyres, which is a new skill to learn. It's an interesting skill to learn, and I enjoy it myself, but for AM drivers, it's not an easy part of the process. So just trying to go through it and build that temperature as quickly as possible without crashing. It sounds simple when you phrase it like that, but you can see the car coming back and the front wheel arch is buckled all the way around, and that's done well to stick on there. I think we're going to get a good shot of that. I can see our roving cameraman just on the front corner, fast lane open, so we are seeing cars on the Freymuth heading back out again after a red flag. Deja vu. Absolutely. There's just no stopping him, is there? Indomitable spirit Oliver Freymuth has. So down the pit road he goes. Stefan Ortelli watching over all the damage to Philippe Prett's car. Let's hear his thoughts. Alex has found him.
Stefan, just a quick word while we have the opportunity to talk to you. Firstly, talk us through what you're doing here.
I'm just looking at the car right now, to be honest. It's always difficult here with cold tires. You know, when you start in this category with cold tires, it's windy, you can have mistakes. I'm just helping Philippe, so good things when you are on the top, and something bad things when you make mistakes. We have to learn from this mistake and also prepare the car for the race, which would be the most important thing is to fix the car right now and to also give the confidence back to Philippe.
And generally you're here with Philippe helping the team?
Yes, I do, and also I'm learning in this situation to trying to not having these things happening again.
Of course.
Always learning.
Talk to me about the GT2s. It's a great championship, isn't it? And the cars are brilliant.
Fast, really fast. I think it's spectacular also from the outside when you look at so many different cars like the Mercedes or the Maserati. KTM used to be also very strong in winning races last year, so altogether it's nice. It's going to be a lot more cars on the next event in Spa in Belgium. But I think the future is really important. It reminds me a lot when we started GT cars 30 years ago, and we invented with Stefan Rattel organization the GT2 category, for instance, back then. So it's nice to see these cars again here in the championship.
And hopefully it will grow. Talk to me about Spa. Tell me about the prologue.
Yeah, the prologue was good for us in GT3 with his son, and we, I think, have such a big grid on the GT3 category. 24 Spa is always the biggest race of the year for us, so it's nice. But in the GT2 category, we will be also supporting the event, so it's very important. Thank you.
It's going to be good fun. Thanks, Stefan.
So Stefan is back with his headset on. We've had confirmation that the best lap time for number 1 has been cancelled / will be cancelled, because if it goes out again and does its best lap time, then it will lose that. So at the moment, the hard work is going on, whether it's tank tape, whether it's to persuade the scrutineers that it's meant to look like that, honest gov, and try and get out. We're already now down to 10 minutes. So having said it is a bitty session, we haven't really got any proper lap times offered up. So the 20-minute session almost now by definition becomes a 10-minute session, the pressure is tweaked up.
Yeah, I'm still surprised Rossina's sat there in pit lane with a cold set of tyres. We've gone on about it.
Is that confidence, though? Is that, I know I can do this, and I want to keep as much life in the tyres for the race?
But just do it earlier. Just box earlier. That would be my way round it. I don't think the track's evolving, improving that much. I think he's just making his life more stressful and risky. We've already seen 2 red flags in this session, so is there potentially a third one that would be a big issue then for him? But yeah, they will have their plan, and these plans are made before sessions, so sometimes aren't the most malleable to outside influences. Actually, Oliver Freymuth ran all the way up to the wall on the exit. That felt like a NASCAR kind of camera angle there. It looked brilliant as he blasts across the line and goes into a 1:41.2, so less than a second off his best from Q1, so that was a good lap from Freymuth.
So 9 3/4 minutes are on the clock. Oliver Freymuth then a 1:41.223, and purple sectors across everything. First man really to do a proper lap, hence he doesn't get all the purples. But this is Mauro Calamia, who was Trofeo Maserati champion. He's been a class winner in the Nürburgring 24 Hours. He's raced Italian GT. He's raced in the Le Mans Cup. He did drive for a time in Formula 2, as in the MSV operated Williams design one-make Formula 2 series, one mate, one team, a long time ago, out of which also came, amongst others, but perhaps more famously, Mirko Bortolotti. There is Calamia then, who now starts a proper lap. That was a start-up lap at a 1:46, so there's more to come. And we know that Calamia is quick, indeed a race winner in this car, in this championship last year.
Yeah, and he's hustling on hard car, moving around again. We've seen these Maseratis looking very stiff over the bumps. The drivers having to make micro adjustments on the steering wheel to keep the car pointing in the direction they want. Speed building, 240, 250 kilometers an hour now as they hit the brakes into 7, giving a bit of space to the edge of the track not to put a wheel on the dirt. 2 apexes through here at turn 7. Short, sharp brake here at 8 again, avoiding this curb. Seems to unsettle the car as we go back to Mercedes exiting turn 3 onto that fast section as well. Be interesting to see the differences here between the Maserati and the Mercedes. Mercedes slightly softer normally in its spring rate, so it seems to take the bumps better. Let's have a look. Does seem to ride it well, the body not moving around as aggressively, and that's the fastest sector so far for car 53.
Indeed so. Christophe Bourret then, another experienced driver. Go back to GT4. He goes back to having raced in the 24 du Mans. He raced in the European Le Mans Series. He's done some Creventic long-distance races, sharing his car with Pascal Gibon. So 2 quick and experienced dams. Petrolicia, who is a relative newcomer to the sport, he has gone fastest now, 1:38. How does that compare with what Andrzej Rokosz did? It's about a second faster. So that Mercedes going quicker in the hands of Petrolicia, but then Mauro Calamia gets into the 1:37s, a 1:37.931. Not as good as Prett did in the earlier session, but still good for Maserati as a brand.
Yep, only 6/10 off Prett's best, so there's potential where he's going to be the fastest GT2 time from both sessions, I would say, at the moment, as Bourret comes around this last corner, blasts to the line. Where's this going to put him? I'd say it might be good enough for 3rd place at the moment as he crosses the line. 4th at the moment, so big lock-up under braking there. It's not the first car we've seen do that today. In GT3 we had a few as well, so the wind there just affecting it. The grip levels inconsistent as we see Rossina out in front now. He's on his first flyer at the moment.
But it's about 6 seconds down, never mind 10, 6 full seconds down in the first sector against what Calamia is doing. So it is a start-up to the sequence for Rossina before we get proper lap times out of him. I did like the livery on Petrolicia's Mercedes AMG. Looks really smart, that car, run by the RTR Projects team. And the Mercedes coming out of the banked Arie Luyendyk bocht, the corner at the end of the lap up towards the timing line. Calamia is going to go even better this time around. A 1:37.9 is going to be bested when he comes up to the line. Through goes Petrolicia, whose lap is a 1:38.122, so he's gone quicker. He's only a 10th down on the earlier lap from Calamia, but here is Calamia up towards the timing line. He will go faster this time, breaks the beam, and that is a 1:36.695 best of the day then, so quicker than anybody did in Q1.
Yeah, 7/10 clear of Prett's Q1 time Mega Lap. Rossina really didn't want to let Petrolica through, did he? But he's still warming those tyres up. So I think Petrolica will be getting frustrated and held up by Rossina as he starts to build temperatures, just waiting for those two cars I'm talking about to come through Sector 1 any second now, and Rossina does, and it's a purple Sector 1. You can see it on your timing tower on the left side. Can Calamia keep this pace going? Because I think Rossina has got some time in the bag here.
Right, so Calamia is still pushing, comes through Kreimer's corner, as it were, the part of the circuit where Laura Kreimer went off the road, but up now towards turn 8, the right-hander comes Calamia. What is, in the meantime, as he does an absolute best, Stefan Rossina up to personal best, but the margin between them in Sector 1 is only about 600ths of a second, so there's not much to choose between them. Rossina is ahead on the road, so he has now done an absolute best in the middle sector. He will get across the timing line ahead of the Maserati. It's whether the lap time A is good enough to put him top, and B, whether it keeps him there, as Calamia is a bit down in the middle sector.
Yeah, not much for, just 400ths at the moment. So Rossina's coming to the line now. Expect this to be potentially pole position. Is it going to be a low 36? It is. It's a very low 36, 36.0. Great lap there. What can Calamia do? I think this is going to be close. It's going to be a 10th either way of Rossina's lap time, but Calamia is showing great pace here at the moment.
Indeed so. So Stefan Rossina 136.0, Maran Calamia 136.7. So it was a slower lap all round. Lost it out in the last sector, didn't he, Calamia? It just ebbed away from him. But maybe he is further into a run, so that maybe there's a bit more life out of the tyres then against Rossina's set of Pirellis. Neil Montserrat currently third fastest, 4 minutes on the clock. Montserrat is 7/10 down on Calamia, and he's done an absolute best and a personal best. So you ignore Neil Montserrat at your peril. He was really impressive at Ricard. He's going to look good here as well, I think, at the end of this lap as he comes behind Christophe Bourret, the two Mercedes AMGs, up towards the timing line. Montserrat dives out of the draft, goes through and goes second. 136.299, puts himself ahead of Calamia.
There's a monster Sector 1, that purple, 3/10 quicker than Rossina. He got a toe from that Mercedes, like you said, a Bourret, but then got compromised into one, as we get a great illustration of how tight turn 3 is, heavily banked, but then the exit is so important because now we sweep through. You can see the chicane of 11 and 12 in the background as now they come through the dunes. You can see the sand either side of the circuit. Bourret here on the brakes now. This is where we saw Kreimer go off. You can see the marks in the gravel trap, and really a beautiful, beautiful vista here in this conservation area just outside Amsterdam.
There's some really good spectator areas as well, especially out at the back of the circuit. You can look down from the drone. Fantastic shots this, as you start to get an idea of the other part of Zandvoort, because so much of perhaps the focal point is the pit straight, the Tarzan hairpin, the banking at the end of the lap. But go out to the back part of the circuit, some nice fast corners there, some tight testing sections as well. This fast straight, the big grandstand there, which gives you a good vantage point of watching the cars come into the Hans and Bocht. Loop round, you see how busy the paddock is as well, with single seaters there in the assembly area good to go. Then up now towards the right-hander at turn 13. Past the dunes and the holiday park on the outside of the track. Busy car park, busy skid pan, the Rob Slottermacher driving school, and then onto the pit straight. And Neil Montserrat down in sectors 1 and 2, so not as good a lap as it was earlier. I'm not suggesting he's been admiring the view like we have, but he hasn't been able to turn it on with now just under 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, not many cars improving at all at the moment, so I think tyres are starting to fall away. We've got the top 3 within 6/10 of a second, and we can see Rossina is out of the car there, and he thinks that's as fast as he can go. Talking with the team and his teammate there, Formanak. Got a pretty cool, quirky style. He always has that hat on, almost no matter the temperature, so don't think it's that cold. Ambient's actually up to 15 degrees now, and the Pirelli technicians just coming over to check those tyre pressures, all legal, which they will be at the end of a run like that.
So Rossina fastest, but only by just under 0.3 of a second. 0.257 of a second is the margin. So he was confident, and rightly so, in terms of the Lamborghini being able to deliver. But it's not a massive gap, and I think Neil Montserrat will be in the hunt. It looks to me as though Petrolica, who is 4th fastest, and the fastest AM as well, so he'll take a point in the championship for that, is set to bail. And the checkered flag will be imminent. Christophe Bure here has just done a personal best within the first sector.
Yeah, he's pushing hard as others getting out the way. Very well, that was Montserrat getting out the way. Gets to the apex nicely there, Bure getting a bit wide out the curb there. You find that apex curve actually helps hook the front of the car up as we come into turn 13. Could use a bit more road on the way in just to open the corner up, take some of the angle out of the corner, so you have to use less steering, lets you carry more speed, flat out through this last corner, let the car ride up to the wall on exit. Again, opening the steering, less angle. What's the time going to be? Can he lift himself up from 6th place? He cannot. It was only slightly faster. He's into the 40s now, 40.5, 8/10 of a second off Freymuth. This is his last chance now.
So Petrolicia is sitting in the pit lane, but won't be going back out. Flag is now out. So session at an end. Stefan Rossina the fastest. Montserrat pits. Calamia is in. Petrolicia is, as you see, in. Christophe Bure is still circulating, and inevitably Oliver Freymuth is still circulating, because he always does. He does respect the checkered flag, but like we said earlier on, he does get his value for money. So if in doubt, you can always find Oliver Freymuth on the circuit, it would appear. And Philippe Prett, of course, didn't do a lap time, but did take part in the session. Matteo Homola didn't do a lap time and didn't get out. So they are going to have to both come up from the back of the grid. And depending on what they do in the first race, of course, may have longer pit stops to serve when we get into race 2.
Yep. And sorry, Bure is actually still improving, so
Whoa, not on this lap he won't. Finds all the marbles on the outside of the racetrack there. His last lap, you're right, was quicker, a 1:40.5, and that lap started with a personal best first sector, and then he managed to run out wide and find barely any grip whatsoever. So he's way down now in the middle sector and probably will have bought the lap.
Yeah, and you can see how dusty it is offline. And the one thing you will have learnt there and banked in the memory is when we're racing this afternoon, if you are offline to make a move, there's going to be less grip afforded to you. And we get a replay here, a bit narrow on the way in, which naturally makes you run wide. He's all the way on the outside. Look at the dust being kicked up from the car, the diffuser lifting it up, and now watch the oversteer. Great super slow-mo here. Look at the opposite lot, the front wheels working away. Big set of 11s. Those 4 exhausts looking ominous, and then the car takes a nice little set and he'll pretend it never happened.
And in the car, all you can hear is a massive sigh of relief, a big deep breath as it all gets back under control. So that was GT2 qualifying, the GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli. The first race for them is going to be 1:20 this afternoon. They race again tomorrow. It's the same principle for all the GT categories, a race today, a race tomorrow. And Stefan Rossina then does take pole position, as he was not arrogantly expecting, but confidently expecting, but not by a huge margin. And in fairness, with only 6/10 covering the top 3, we're in for a competitive race. Bronek Formanek then faster, Stefan Rossina faster in Q2 than Neil Montserrat. Mauro Calamia taking 3rd. Petrolicia the best of the AMs. Oliver Freymuth 2nd in the class, and also going quicker than he did in the earlier session. Christophe Bure 6th. Philippe Prett went out and got damage. Matteo Homola didn't go out because of damage sustained in the earlier session by Laura Kreimer. So there's still a question mark over how much damage those 2 cars have got. Hopefully they'll be good to go for the first race this afternoon. So for the GT2 teams, rapid turnaround now to get cars with any dramas sorted out. We know there's a crumpled Maserati. We know there's a KTM with rear damage, but looking down onto the circuit, the GT2 teams making their way now back to the paddock. Qualifying done. Let's look at the highlights then of GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli qualifying, with the drivers biding their time before they ventured out for Q1. But in the end, time started to come for the likes of Pascal Gibon and also the rapid Laura Kreimer, who got herself up to 2nd, but then caused the first of 2 red flags in the session jointly by coming out of the crest and going off the road, heading towards turn 7. This was the moment, just riding the curb, putting a wheel on the dirt, but the car already unsettled, and at pretty high speed into the barrier, Laura Kreimer went. That brought out the red flag. Only one driver went out for the resumption of the session, that being Oliver Freymuth. Others got themselves ready for Q2, where Philippe Prett accelerated out of the pit lane, and the car suddenly swerved to one side and cannoned into the barrier. He was able to get going again, but a red flag had been called. And so when people did go out, it was really a 10-minute second qualifying session. Neil Montserrat's Mercedes got itself up to second in the times, but it was Stefan Rossina in the Michelin Motorsport, powered by Borghera Lamborghini, that was the fastest and therefore took pole position. And Christophe Bourret was still pushing right to the very end, even getting himself on the marbles on his last lap. Race 1 then at 1:20 and it should be all action in GT2.